Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new. And if you're new, make sure you hit like and subscribe below and tell your friends. If you've been here before, you know we're working on our shop. And if you're new here, we are working on our shop. So let's see what we've done here. Last we left off, we had the main part of the structure set up and erected. But what we've done is gone through evenings after work, and we got the porch structure set up. We've gone through and gotten all of the girts tightened up, leveled up, all the required hardware in there. All of our X bracing is in, except this last section here where we have some more purlins to install. The big squishy area back here is starting to dry out. We're kind of going through day by day, working the dirt a little back here and getting it to firm up as it dries out. Like Monday, 3 days ago, this was a large pool and it's mostly gone now. We've been able to start doing some grading along the sides of the building here. We do have 1 foot stem wall between the grade or the ground and the top of the wall here, so we're just kind of working to get that leveled out, get things compacted in. And then also we have all of our door openings. You see we have the door jambs themselves. We had to do makeshift deal to build here, but these will be spaced 4 inches from the bottom here, and you can see that's where a concrete cap gets poured, about 8 inches outside and on the interior. We do have yet to go and get all the anchor bolts cleaned up, sized, German short-haired, and epoxied in place. So then the crew can come back and fill in those door caps. Otherwise, we've made, I think, great progress in the last almost 2 weeks here with getting all the grading done. This interior is finally drying out as well. You can see some fill will be needed over here, of course, where it's fallen in, compacted, but this week ago was a giant soupy mess. And it's still a mess, but at least it's firming up and we're able to start grading like we've done on the far side. Bobcat, of course, has been having fun. A pile of parts up the hill is really trimmed down. We've moved pretty much everything else down here except for our steel and our trim boxes. And the pile you see over here is the rest of the Eave struts that go up on that spot there, all along the Eave here, the overhang, and then on the edge of the lean-to, there's struts that go there as well. So for our current project, we need to go through, of course, finish putting in all of our missing purlins here, and then there are some flange braces that go, if you can see, there's a little tab right up here by that on the gray steel, and that is a flange that goes up and attaches to the purlin. Let's see if we can get a little closer here. Here we go. This little tab up here attaches to the purlin out to one of the outset bolt holes. That again gives it some additional bracing. So we got those to add in. There's a couple that also go on the girts on the sidewalls. And then it will almost be time to start getting ready for steel. Now, of course, we're not doing any flooring inside yet. This is going to set for another couple of years, just to make sure that everything settles, because we don't want to mess like that under a concrete when it thaws in the spring, especially with heated floor. That would be a bad thing. Luckily on this side it's been pretty stable and we haven't had a lot of issues, which is where our heated floor will be, but either way we want to make sure our base is nice and compacted and firm and it won't be moving or heaving on us. Otherwise, we do have our windows. We've got some windows tucked up under the tarp there. We've moved our mastic tape for our roof stuff. Our seals are in there, and then of course our box of nuts and bolts and spare parts, which is getting smaller by the day. Really, getting down to some of the nitty-gritty details before we can start putting on the steel. But definitely making progress. I've got this big porch, 10 feet up at the top, so even the UPS truck or the FedEx truck can get near and not damage it. That was our thought for not having just like an 8-foot overhang like most porches you have in your household, is because if somebody backed up, we didn't want them to back into it, because likely this would leave a larger dent in your vehicle than on the building. But it is quite large when you stand under it, which is really going to be nice. We'll have some can lights under here for some overhead lighting, which will be really nice. Not sure if we're going to do white LEDs under here or like a soft white, just to make sure we don't have anything that looks kind of bad out here. While I really do like the look of the bright white 5000K LED lights, more of that softer yellowish might be more appropriate for out here. And of course, we will be throwing up a couple of our Ubiquiti cameras, one going up here to shine or to look down on the driveway to see who's coming in. There's one over there currently, but that will get moved over here, and we'll have a couple in the building, and probably one facing up the pastures in the back. So I've been using the Ubiquiti stuff for a couple of years in the home, and they've been great products. So I'll drop a link below for some of their cameras and network gear. So I think for now we're going to jump up in one of the lifts and work on getting the rest of our purlins on the lean-to set and those flange braces, and then we'll only have kind of a little bit of area left in the main building here to take care of. Just trying to whittle away at the various parts of it, so that I can kind of cross things off my list of lean-tos done, all the girts are done, all the purlins are done, all the X-bracing is in, and just so that that little green box at the end of the project here is empty, except for the roughly 7,000 screws and rivets for all the trim and the siding. So that comes next. Anyways, let's go work on some purlins. So in addition to having our, let me show you, on the back of all the heavy steel here, we have our brackets that the Z purlins or girts get attached to, whether it's on the roof or the walls. Same thing over here. And we also have these flange braces, which bolt on here and then up here on the purlin as well. And that gives us some additional structural support, kind of an anti-roll, they describe it as, help from twisting under load or something like that. So go ahead and chuck that up here and work our way down the last row of purlins here. We've got 5 of these brackets to put on, and I've already gone through and done these, got all of our proper bolts and hardware on everywhere it should be, and we'll go ahead and work on the last few brackets here, and then the lean-to will be complete, I believe, short of the Eave struts on the very edge of it. And you get an entire pallet of nuts and bolts and hardware and brackets and flanges and clips and rivets, and I think there's about 1,000, a little better than 1,000 of these 1/2 inch by 1.5 inch bolts that pretty much assemble all the secondary structure on here. So quite a giant pile of nuts and bolts, and it truly is, as they've described it, a erector set for adults. This is probably the most handy tool so far, next to my impact driver, is a spud wrench. So when you're trying to line things up in the holes, especially where your purlins or girts overlap, you can spike that in there and then help line up the holes for your bolts. We'll show you down the row here a little bit, but probably the most valuable tool so far. just a little bit of alignment, and there we go. Now we can move down to the next spot. All right, so we moved down to our next spot, and what I did do a little bit is when the purlins were first put on, they were a little farther out than they should have been, so our rest of our eaves didn't quite match up. So I have shoveled the end one in, and I've got it just sort of strapped up here to hold everything in place. But now I can go ahead and tie everything back together. We got those on. Let's go work the other side quick and get that flange bracket on. We've got one more bolt under here to tighten up from when we first assembled it. I just wanted to get everything on finger tight to make sure we didn't have to make any adjustments, because if we'd have gotten everything on final, then I would have had to come back and take off 6 nuts and bolts for every one of these junctions. That would have been a lot of extra work. So we're going to continue down and get the last 3 of those braces in, and then the lean-to is done. It means we can move on to finishing all of our purlins up here. All right, so we are down here working on the couple of eave struts, lean-to. We got 2 of them on here. We've got 2 of them left. Kind of got a makeshift 2-lift process to do it, but it kind of works. So let's try and put one up. This would be one of those times you need that spud wrench, which is in the other lift. All right, there you go. Just about 15 minutes to get one of these eave struts up. Now that's if you're doing it with one person, 2 lifts, and running around a lot. If you had a buddy, it would go a lot quicker. So we'll get the last one done. That's gonna wrap up the backside of this lean-to, leaving us only with the eave struts to put up all the way down. There's 2 sets of those that go on the end of the eave. And then we're getting close to being done. Hey folks, we are getting down to the last kind of few piles of parts. Took a little break from the purlins because I want to make sure and get the rest of these eave struts up. You can see them, these 2 right here on the end. There's 6 more that go up down the back wall. And that's pretty much it for the heavier material except for the purlins here. So I've got the telehandler back and lift all set up, and the German short here. So we're gonna try and get these last 6 up, and then then go back to our purlins. Once that's done, we have rake angle trim along the end walls of the building, and then it's time for siding. So here we go. You know, I certainly could have moved all those by hand, but they're kind of heavy. Actually, more cumbersome is the better term to use. They're just 20 feet long and kind of awkward. There we go. 1 down, 5 left. Now, about 15 minutes per strut, assuming you've got one person, just me doing it. It does go a lot quicker if you've got, let's say, 3 people, one running the lift, and then somebody on one person running the telehandler, and then one person on a lift on each end of the strut to get things bolted in and lined up. That, of course, goes a heck of a lot quicker, but it's just me, and I am what I got. So, we'll go ahead and get the other 5 up, hopefully before I lose this beautiful sunset over here. So, here's the sunset for you.